Shalom, my fellow individuals. I got word from the higher-ups that I need to expand my demographics. So we're going to look at a game about women respecting each other. That means it's time to bust out a totally legit PS2 and take a look at this wrestling game. Of course, I'll try to keep those of you uninitiated in the wrestling lore out of the dark where I can. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. Although the crowd does not look good, the featured wrestlers look great. And hey, the devs even bothered to put in physics. So you've got shonen shoujo protagonist, ignorant Mongolian lady, and big titties Lorraine. I think someone is bound to enjoy at least one of the characters here. My favorite is Miss Spencer. I just want to hold her hand so bad you don't understand. Since there's no ratings for the characters, on paper, everyone is on the same playing field. Using Dragon Ball as an example, that means I can play as one of the best characters, Yamcha, and completely wreck Goku. Similar to a lot of wrestling games, it takes a while to get used to the controls here. Luckily, Rumble Roses implements a lot of wrestling staples. Hitting the strike button several times will give you a basic combo. Pair that with a directional input for a different attack. Grapples are here too. Those previously mentioned moves can be reversed, and you've got Irish whips. You know, the usual. Then what does this have to separate it from other wrestling games? This game does something interesting with its ultimate moves. There are 3 types here: Killer, Lethal, and Humiliation. After filling up the gauge, you can perform one, which I'll refer to as having a stock. Killers and Lethals are your usual finishers, but Humiliations are the interesting part. For some moves, you'll notice a heart gauge appear and fill up for your opponent. When that's full, and you have a stock, you can perform your character's humiliation move. I guess depending on how you want to look at it, there's a bit of a risk versus reward thing going on. You have to go out of your way to use them, but I found you're more likely to win using one. Rumble Roses also has some tech going on. Double tapping a direction will cause you to dash or step. You could then chain that into a different move. Furthermore, the grapple states are kind of interesting. Up in the grapple button will put your opponent into a grounded position, with you holding their head. Down and grapple will do the same, with you holding their legs. Strikes can be blocked, and weapons are gotten from the corners of the arena, not from underneath the ring. What about pins and submissions? Now, compared to some of the other stuff in this game, the pin count is pretty flaccid and dry. Have a listen. They already have people voice acting in this game, and don't worry, we'll get to that. So why didn't they get one of the voice actors to record a few more lines? They could have at least gotten one of the overworked, depressed salarymen that programmed or did the character modeling to record something. As usual, besides pinning, we have submissions, and I have nothing to complain about with them. Pins and submissions can be broken out of by button mashing. On to the match variety. There's only 2 of them, regular and mud. Regular functions like your typical wrestling match. Pin or submit your opponent to win. Mud operates on hardcore rules. Falls count anywhere. I think the mud effect is pretty neat too. Imagine how metal it would be if that was blood or dead robot oil. There's no tag teams, and you can't have more than 2 characters competing at once. You can only do one-on-one fights. No Mercy has more match types, as well as the ability to have more than 2 competitors, and that was on the N64. Also, there are no rope breaks, as well as no countouts when outside of the ring. There's not even a referee. As a result, Rumble Roses is lacking in depth when it comes to the wrestling side of things. In the end, I think the core mechanics are solid enough. I just wish that there were either more match types, or for there to be a little more in the gameplay department. Here's an example for a match type they could have added. Last Man Standing. For those of you that don't know what they are, someone has to get their opponent onto the ground. If the person on the ground does not get back on their feet before the referee counts to a value, let's say 10, the person left standing is the winner. Keeping that in mind, and if you need a lewd bend like mud wrestling, you can make Last Man Standing Slumber Party themed. The characters can be dressed in their evening attire, and you can put microwaves in the pillows to make them hit harder. As an example for adding to the gameplay, let's go back to the stock. What if you could use them for stuff besides the ultimate and humiliation moves? How about spending one of them to prevent you from being pinned or submitted for several seconds? Of course, you would have to balance something like that. Maybe every time you use it, the amount of stocks it takes to activate increases. After 1, it'll take 2 stocks, then 3, and so on. As for the AI, I think they get the job done. However, it does hang up sometimes. Okay, hear me out. I think the character design has more depth than what some people say. They could have put every woman in a revealing 2-piece outfit and call it a day. But no, they did more than that. Let's use Makoto as a base. Miss Spencer is much more classy in comparison. She's got stockings, heels, and she's rocking a rad ascot. Then you have Dixie and Aisha, which are dressed pretty confidently. This brings me to my next point, the entrances. I think they get across what kind of person the character is and what they're about well. While I'm at it, I should talk about the music. Although I didn't enjoy the normal background tracks, I did enjoy a lot of the theme songs. Candy Cane and Dixie have licensed music. Dixie's theme is even a cover of a song by David Lee Roth, Yankee Rose. Sadly, to be safe from the copyright mafia, I can't play either of those. I found the music used for Reiko in particular to be pretty strong. It makes me want to go running in the rain and get hit by a car because I was thinking too deeply about life, the universe, and everything. Anyway, let's talk about the lore and story of Roses of the Rumbling. There's a tournament going on and all the characters are there for various reasons. For example, Reiko wants to find her missing sister and prove herself to her dead mother. Dixie wants to fight Reiko. Miss Spencer just wants to make Candy Cane go back to school. And Candy Cane, despite her bad girl persona, wants to use the prize money to save an orphanage. There's a lot of cutscenes and voice acting in this game, and I think they're amazing. Here's a few.
Miss Hinomoto, that was some match.
What's with the Ms. stuff? Hey, aren't you that girl who took the gold medal in judo?
Yeah, that's me, Makoto, the judo babe. But I'm still new to wrestling. Let's do this!
Whoa, slow down there.
Time to psych up! Fight! Fight! Fight!
Well, I'd better psych myself up too. Fight!
Cowgirl, very worthy opponent, but I still crush.
Okay, let's see what you got, sweetie.
Huh?
What?
Cowgirl has teats more magnificent than my sheep.
What'd you say about my... Shut your trap and fight!
Ah, you are Miss Aisha, correct?
Yes, so?
Miss Welsh is quite the fan of yours. She is one of my students, you know. Could I please have your autograph?
You a teacher?
Yes, I am.
Sorry, but teachers piss me off.
Watch your mouth, Missy. I cannot let you be a bad role model.
What you gonna do about it? Bust out the ruler?
I will teach you a lesson.
Bring it on!
WWE 2K Battlegrounds also introduced original characters. Believe it or not, the characters in Rumble Roses actually have more depth. Even Eigel, who you'd expect to just be a joke character, can be pretty caring. For example, one of the wrestlers in Battlegrounds is from New York and they don't really do much with him. Come on, do the devs not know that place is a hellscape? Escape from New York was a documentary. Taking that into account, they could have made him a guy that's lived on the streets. Someone that's had to fight for everything they ever owned. The kind of guy with the outlook of, a win in that ring is the difference between whether or not he lives to see the next day. You now have someone that could easily be a face or a heel, a hero or villain in wrestling. There's a bit more going on with the greater story in Rumble Roses. There's not a lot to spoil, but if you want to see everything for yourself, skip to here. 3, 2, 1. It turns out Anesthesia was using the tournament to seek out other wrestlers so that she could use them to construct the most powerful wrestler for world domination, Lady X. Plus, Reiko's sister, Fujiko, was Evil Rose this whole time, and that's pretty much it. So the story is absolutely cheesy, silly, and insane. But hey, real-life pro wrestling can also be cheesy, silly, and insane. And that's why I love it. It's time I talked about what I think is the most interesting thing this game has, the face and heel system. Every wrestler has a face and heel persona, and they kind of make sense based on the given wrestler. Dixie becomes a dom for justice, Aisha becomes a washed-up celebrity and starts doing drugs, and Candy Cane goes back to school. For Spencer's heel persona, I like to think she was secretly having a midlife crisis, and Candy Cane's refusal to go back to class pushed Spencer over the edge, resulting in Spencer having a mental breakdown. And at the time, she thought it was a good idea to build an in-ring personality around that. Incorporating someone's personal problems into their character or storylines does happen in real pro wrestling. As an example, look into the TNA Impact Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett feud. Those men had amazing professionalism to not kill each other or themselves during that. Getting back on track, before you start a match in exhibition mode, you can choose to undertake up to 3 vows. Each vow, when completed, will raise your character's face or heel rating by a certain amount. Get that value to 100% and then you'll be able to challenge for the title. Win the championship and you'll unlock the gallery for that persona, which is pretty moist, but I wish they did more with this system. What if the story mode better incorporated this? Let's take Dixie for example. She has a bit of a rivalry going on with Aisha. Let's say Aisha is getting beaten up by another person, and as Dixie, you have the choice to intervene. Maybe choosing not to help could further Aisha's hatred of Dixie. Depending on other choices you make throughout Dixie's story, it could even end in a heel Dixie versus face Aisha match. Last thing to talk about are the interviews. If you go into the gallery and wait for a while, you'll get a cutscene where the characters are asked various questions. They're about what you expect in a game like this. What's your type and measurements, for example? But some of the responses are so cheesy, how can you not love them? One of the interviews has something strange. During Aisha's, she says she wants to meet the late, great Aretha. Aretha Franklin was alive when this game was made. At the time this video was made, something similar would be me saying I want to meet the late, great Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, or Sam Hyde. Still, it's nowhere near as unfortunate as some of the WWE games out there. I do not think Rumble Roses is bad. The worst thing I can say about it is that I wish that there was more content. So even though I think this is worth checking out for the sheer absurdity of the story mode, you might be better off playing something like Here Comes the Pain or Day of Reckoning 2. In fact, the game's engine is based on Here Comes the Pain. By the way, fun fact, in the United States, this actually launched in the same month as Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Anyway, I think Rumble Roses is also a trailblazer. See, professional wrestling is a bit smarter than what some people think. At least when it's good. It's a marriage between storytelling and a physical performance. You can't just have people want to kill each other for no good reason in wrestling. Taking that into account, why do the people involved want the other person dead? What does everyone have to lose? Who does the crowd want to get behind or against? Are the people involved playing an entertaining character? There's a segment between The Rock, Eugene, and Coach in the WWE that's a great example of what I'm talking about. Coach is bullying and verbally destroying Eugene. Eugene leaves the ring and looks like he's about to cry. And just as he's about to go backstage, The Rock makes a return and proceeds to save Eugene. If they just had Eugene beat up Coach without The Rock stepping in, it wouldn't have been as good. Games like Rumble Roses and Saturday Night Slam Masters don't have real people in it, so they have to make up their own. However, due to hardware limitations or other factors, Slam Masters characters don't have many opportunities to shine. It's just a game with wrestling in it. It has the physicality, but not enough of the storytelling. I want to see Hager cut a sick promo. To me, Rumble Roses has enough of the physicality and the storytelling. Someday, I hope it gets another sequel or someone makes another wrestling game with original characters, because at the very least, it will be entertaining.
I'm no longer your sweet little girl.
You'll pay dearly, my poor Lady X.
It doesn't matter what harm may come to me. I'll just take it and keep fighting, and I won't stop until I become one of the world's greatest wrestlers, worthy of the family name.
In my head I'm asking why, what is wrong and what is right, why I bother, you don't even care. And I feel so insecure, I'm rebellious for sure, why is life so hard and so unfair? Don't you know, I will be so lost, I'll be weak every day without you. Can't you see, that's not me, I don't ever want to be wimpy.
Let's be the strongest and most beautiful wrestlers in the world. That not work. Why? I'm prettier than Makoto.